Welcome to Community Partners Interview, where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Jocelyn Dore, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Aiden Young, who is the person-centered consultant for Inclusion Saskatchewan. Inclusion Saskatchewan's mission is to build and inspire an inclusive Saskatchewan by empowering and valuing people with intellectual disabilities. And their vision is that all people are valued, supported, and included in every aspect of life. Thank you for joining us today, Aiden.
Thank you for having me.
So, first, tell us a little bit more about you and what inspired you to work at Inclusion Saskatchewan and to work with individuals with disabilities.
I am a person that always would believe people with disabilities have equal opportunity and they should. And having that value in mind, I actually went to SAS Polytech in the disability sector. And that program actually allowed me to see the person-centeredness, especially around supporting folks with intellectual disabilities. And what got me into this role is that Inclusion Saskatchewan have a vision and mission where all individuals is included in their community and their voices is heard, and also that they have a sense of belonging. So that is what got me into the work I am today as a neurodiverse person, having lived experiences myself.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the services that Inclusion Saskatchewan offers?
Yes, Inclusion Saskatchewan, we have different branches throughout Saskatchewan. So we are a provincial province that's throughout Saskatchewan. There is programs such as a employment transition program where folks are getting support when it comes to looking for employment and encouraging individuals for folks to be able to apply for jobs and encourage them that they can indeed it's a strength-based approach. We also have the Inclusion ICANN program, which is our flagship advocacy program. And we have Family Network. And we have Inclusion Consultants, which is people that helps people with intellectual disabilities in our program navigating systemic barriers and have support in navigating systems such as the health system and the education system. We do have a work going on around education and inclusive education.
Can you tell me about your learning lab and what that's all about?
Yes, the Inclusion Learning Lab is a program where people can get staff and learn about different experiences, such as when Inclusion Saskatchewan is working with different community-based organizations. Sometimes we have presentations and being able to go out in the community, such as for my role as a person-centered consultant, navigating and facilitating the ICANN program. Sometimes community-based organizations ask for person-centered consultant to speak at a presentation in their community or in their community-based organization to learn more about the ICANN program, or, for example, a granting program where we have our community granting support when it comes to our different staff that does the work around funding and grant writing. So we do have different people on our team that is able to speak on each program in the community.
I also noticed when I was doing my research that you have an online shop. What kind of things can people buy there?
The online shop is an inclusion merch shop. It's inspired by self-advocates and designed by self-advocates collaborated with inclusion staff. So that includes t-shirts. We have different t-shirts. They're very comfortable and accessible for people that have different sensory needs. We have bags for we actually recently launched a Inclusion Saskatchewan branded bag, and we have a bag on education, inclusive education, that all students matters in classroom, and students with diverse ability belongs in classroom where everybody can learn. So we have released a bunch of different merch, including tumblers and coffee mugs. So if you have time, check on the merch shop on the Inclusion Saskatchewan page, and we will be having more merch options in the future.
Are there any restrictions to the services at Inclusion Saskatchewan, such as age or caregivers or family members only, things like that?
Well, we do have a family network program for family with children or adult children with intellectual disabilities. And we support adults with intellectual disabilities. So the requirement for someone to join Inclusion Saskatchewan to receive support is that they have to be 18-year-old and or older, and they have to reside in the province. So if someone's outside of Saskatchewan, then that would make them not eligible. So we have it is for folks with intellectual disabilities and family of people with intellectual disabilities. So that could include, we get a question a lot of the time, if someone have autism, are they able to qualify for a service? Autism, ADHD, developmental disabilities does qualify. And one part about our programming and our service is that for people to join, they can self-identify as having an intellectual disability, and we do not require a doctor's note. So that is a part where it removes barrier for folks that is accessing services in the community.
Without using any names, can you share a success story with me? What supports were put into place when someone asked for help?
We have different support, especially this one project in approximately 3 years ago. We actually have worked with the National Housing Corporation. So National Affordable Housing Corporation is designed for folks with diverse needs living in their community to feel safe and to have a sense of community. So we had in Saskatoon and Regina, there was a different unit that was built by contractors that is accessible for folks with diverse abilities. And for that being said, there is in Saskatoon, in Willowview, there is a 8-unit housing, and there were 8 units, and people with intellectual disability that are on the SED program, which is Saskatchewan Assured Income for Disabilities. That is a government program where it allows people to be able to have a financial, be able to have money while being independent. So money for funding for necessities, needs, and their quality of life. So we have folks that have a budget that could only afford so much on SED. And there were 8 units that's filled, and there is still a waiting list, but it is a success. We have seen individuals and people with intellectual disabilities in our community be able to feel supported and a sense of independence while living in their community with people without disabilities and neighbors, and being able to interact with them in the community.
Are there any events coming up for Inclusion Saskatchewan?
Yes, we do have an inclusion event that is on October 1st, which is the Inclusion Breakfast. And it is for folks getting to celebrate success story, and it's also a fundraising opportunity that is, the fund is not only, it's not for buying a meal, but to be able to say that, hey, people in the community that receive service that people with intellectual disability to say to them, hey, you do matter, and being able to support folks and the work we do. And if you have a chance, feel free to check it out and feel free to check it out yourself. And it is in Saskatoon, and we do have different people in the community-based organizations join. And it is a very fulfilling and a very positive experience.
Sounds like a lot of fun. What is one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be? And how do you think it could be stopped?
There is some barriers that people with intellectual disabilities face when navigating systems such as employment. There is a myth that people with intellectual disabilities do have different needs, and those needs require accommodations, and employers don't know what accommodations are and often go to the thought that it does cost money and funds to secure those accommodations that people with intellectual disabilities have. It requires a lot of funds to secure a position, but actually the truth is that for someone with intellectual disability and the accommodation required, it actually doesn't cost money. Sometimes it requires some creativity, such as having instructions being read to them or having a different sensory object for the individual to not be anxious, or having the person go home and bring a comfort object while still being able to being able to perform their job and for the person to feel fulfilled. So that is, and we also have job coaches from Inclusion Saskatchewan that are able to provide that accommodation when it comes to job coaching, job maintenance, and being able to advocate for what they need, talking to their employers, and being able to get that accommodation and have that support in place.
If someone wanted to become a member or a volunteer with Inclusion Saskatchewan, what is the process for joining as a member and as a volunteer?
We have our website at Inclusion Saskatchewan, and feel free to visit our website, and that's how to become a member and also to join. There is a list under our Inclusion Saskatchewan website, and there's a tab that you can be able to access for members and for people that want to become members and supporters in the community. So if you want, feel free to visit our website.
What is the one thing that you think everyone needs to know about Inclusion Saskatchewan?
Inclusion Saskatchewan and the people we are supporting is people in the community. It could be your friends, your neighbor, and being able to see someone for who they are. And for people with intellectual disabilities, they have their own way of communicating and existing. So having an intellectual disability does not make anyone different. It's a natural human variation. And everybody have their way of existing, communicating, and having their needs met. Inclusion Saskatchewan's people with intellectual disabilities deserve to live a life and a fulfilling life like everybody else.
Yes, that is very true. If listeners are looking for more information, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach out through Inclusion Saskatchewan at info.inclusionsaskatchewan, and that is something that can be reached. And also, they can call the front desk at Inclusion Saskatchewan. So that is what is people want to contact us. They could go through our website, and we have our phone number and we also have a support request section.
Excellent. Sounds great. Well, I really enjoyed talking to you today, Aiden. Thank you again for joining us. It was really great to learn all about Inclusion Saskatchewan.
Yes, thanks for having me.
This has been a Community Partners interview on Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time.